The May 18th, 2022 meeting of the Architectural Review Committee to order. To start, Erica, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Sure. Chair Bluth notified us that he would be absent today. Vice Chair Hunter.
Present.
Committee Member Carter. Here. Committee Member Ostavar.
Here.
Committee Member Polly. Committee Member Polly. I'll go ahead and mark him absent. Committee Member Schmidt.
Here.
And Committee Member Tregenza.
Here.
And I'll go ahead and announce staff members present, our Principal Planner Roveri and myself, Recording Secretary Barrera.
Okay, thank you, Erica. Since we have 5 of the 7 committee members present, it constitutes a quorum and proceed. To begin with, Erica, will you inform public how they would be able to participate via Zoom?
Sure. Members of the public are encouraged to join our meetings via Zoom Gov, a secure service that connects you live with no lag time. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey. There is a 10-second delay. It's also streamed on Comcast channel 25 with up to a 90-second delay. If you would like to provide public comment, please join the meeting using Zoom or by telephone, making sure to join in time to accommodate delays. To join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. Since this meeting has started, you'll find the agenda under the Recent tab. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864, then enter the webinar ID. Today's webinar ID is 161-914-9563. If prompted for a participant ID, press pound. To provide public comment via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen. To provide comments by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. Public commenters will be announced using their last 3 phone number digits or the name typed into Zoom. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. Please turn off TV or computer speakers or go to another room while connected, as background noise interferes with the broadcast. Public speakers will be called upon in order of hands raised. There is a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting. Please stay within that limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. So open the consent agenda for any discussion from the committee or from the public. All right. All right. Since there are no comments on the consent agenda, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made by Committee Member Carter to approve the consent agenda and seconded by Committee Member Tregenza. Do a roll call vote, please, Erica.
Sure. Vice Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Committee Member Carter. Aye. Committee Member Ostavar.
If this includes minutes, I was not present for the last meeting.
Okay. I will mark you abstains. Committee Member Schmidt.
Aye.
Committee Member Tregenza.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved with the vote of 4.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to or open up for public comments for items that are not on the agenda. Do we have anyone online?
There are currently no attendees online.
Okay. All right, I'll close those that and move on to the first public appearance item on the agenda today, which is consider 610 Scott Street Architectural Review Application ARP-22-0001 for preliminary and final architectural review of the detached arbor with deck below and attached arbor to main residence with deck below and attached storage shed to main residence. Okay. Does staff have a presentation?
Yes, thank you. My name is Fernando Roveri, Principal Planner. Okay, and as mentioned by Vice Chair Hunter, this is an application for preliminary and final architectural review of 2 arbors and a shed at 610 Scott Street. The project site has zoning R36 and general plan designation of medium density residential, and it's located in the Old Town neighborhood. And as you can see, it's surrounded by other residential uses. This project was eligible for administrative architectural review. However, the project was referred to the ARC by, oh my gosh, I always forget. Can they hear me?
We can see it now.
But like the audio has.
Can you, committee members online, can you hear Fernanda?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, starting over. So the project location is, has zoning R36 and general plan designation of medium density residential, and it's located in the Old Town neighborhood and is surrounded by other residential uses. This project was eligible for administrative architectural review. However, the neighbor at 620 Scott Street referred the project to the Architectural Review Committee for consideration. The arbors and shed are already constructed, so this is a retroactive permit. The shed is currently detached from the main house. However, the applicant wants to attach it. So the proposal is for a detached arbor with a deck below in the rear yard of the property, an attached arbor with a deck below in the east side of the property, and an attached shed in the west side, painted to match the house siding color. And as proposed, the arbors and shed meet all setbacks, height, and other restrictions. So on the left is a site plan, and the arrow is pointing to the location of the shed. The proposal is to attach the shed to the house, and right now it's detached. You can see on the image that it is a few inches away from the main house. And I took a photo from 620 Scott Street looking at the shed over the fence, just so you can see what it looks like. And these are the arbors. The rear arbor is up top, and it has a height of below 12 feet, which is the maximum allowed. And the arbor on the east side is attached to the house, and it also has a height of less than 12 feet, which is the maximum allowed. In order to approve this project, the ARC must make 4 findings. The first one is that the proposed siding, form, mass, and architectural style are appropriate for the project site, the immediate area, and the city. It's appropriate in that all setbacks and height restrictions are met, and the architectural style is of single-family residential character. The proposed project will not unreasonably impair the views, privacy, or living environment currently enjoyed by other properties in the vicinity. The arbors and shed would have a low profile. They are below the 12-foot maximum height limit, and they, as proposed, they would meet all setbacks. The project is substantially consistent with the Monterey General Plan, as well as all applicable and adopted area or neighborhood plans, design guidelines, or similar documents. And the structures are of single-family residential character. The shed's wood siding and arbors wood material are standard for single-family construction, and the shed's wood siding would be painted to match the house color. The proposed finish, colors, materials, landscaping, and all other exterior features are appropriate for the project site, the immediate area, and the city. The arbors would remain a natural wood color. The shed's wood siding would be painted to match the house. And this is appropriate for the single-family residential character of the site and neighborhood. So the recommendation is that the ARC approve this permit with the condition that the shed be painted the same color as the house. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is here, the representative of the property owners. And we have also the owner of 620 Scott Street here.
Thank you, Fernanda. Do any of the committee members have questions for staff?
I have one. So if this was eligible for administrative review and then the neighbors said that it needed to be referred to ARC, is the property owner responsible for the fee to get to ARC? Or is there a fee still? Or is the appealing party responsible for that?
We do not have a referral fee.
Okay,
It's not an adopted fee in our fee schedule, so they don't pay extra
okay,
to go to ARC.
because there is an ARC fee.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I have a question, Fernanda. Is the shed, if it's attached to the house, is there going to be any connection through the wall from inside the house to the shed? Or do you have to get into the shed from outside? Is it just a shed for like garden tools, or is it going to be somebody sleeping in it? I mean, do we know?
The applicant has shared that it's a storage shed
Okay.
and that our code compliance coordinator went there to look at it, and he saw paint supplies. And the owners also say that it's to store bicycles.
Okay.
And other tools, and the shed would not be accessible from inside the house. You have to go outside in order to enter it.
Got it. And so it meets all city requirements for setbacks and for structure and materials and look. So. Okay.
Yeah, it meets all of zoning requirements for setbacks and height. And then in the report, I noted that it meets single-family design guidelines, that the exterior is compatible with the house. And so I noted that in the report.
Thank you.
Any of the, go ahead.
Yes, I have a follow-up to that. So it's required that it be attached. Is that part of the requirement?
So you can have attached or detached sheds, but in order for it to be detached, it needs to maintain a 10-foot distance to the house. And that's a zoning requirement. So the owner wants to attach it because it does, if it was detached, it would not meet that 10-foot setback to the house. So by attaching it, it only needs to meet the 5-foot setback to the fence.
Okay, and then what is considered attached? What, because we didn't see any images of that, drawings or anything like that. So I'm just curious, what will that mean to be attached? Is that the roof, the siding? What are the parts that become attached?
It means that the wall would need to share a wall with the house.
Does that also include the roof?
No, well, the roof, just by extension, the roof would also be attached because it would touch the house.
Right, not necessarily. So I mean, if I don't know, if I guess we can get into that later. It depends how that's done, I suppose, based on the image that I saw. But okay.
All right. Other questions? Is the applicant present? Would like to make a statement? Okay.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm
Could you say
representing.
your full name and?
Oh,
and the-
sure. Anna Russell, and I'm the trustee of the trust that owns the property, representing Adam and Olivia. So I'm going to read a letter from Adam today. So I'll read a letter. I'll try and move through it quickly. It was sent to you guys, but So my wife and I purchased our first home at 610 Scott Street towards the end of 2019. We both moved back from Africa where we were doing peace building work to start a family here. In 2021, we started some renovation work on the house to prepare for the birth of our child, which involved, among other updates, transforming our garage into an ADU. As we needed space for storage, yard equipment, tools, bikes, etc., we decided to build a shed alongside the house. The shed size is approximately 70 square feet, and this was the only location on the property where it could be situated without infringing upon setback rules. I had done research on permit requirements for this type of construction in Monterey and was under the impression, based on the research, that due to the size of the shed, a permit was not required. Subsequently, in 2022, we received a letter from the city of Monterey, which stated that following a complaint made by the owner of the adjacent rental apartments, an inspection would be needed to determine whether the shed met all planning and building requirements. Following the visit, it was determined that a planning permit was required for the shed. We contracted an architect to put together drawings that met city planning requirements in order to apply for a planning permit. 2 alterations were needed to the existing shed to meet these requirements, namely the structure met the 5-foot setback from the property line, and that it was attached to the main house. After a visit from the planning department, we were told that we would also need to have a land survey done of our property to determine the exact property lines. We commissioned a licensed surveyor to do a land survey of our property. After sending in all the additional information requested, we received a letter from the city planner proposing approval of our project, subject to the execution of the changes mentioned above, setback and main dwelling attachment. However, shortly after, the owner of 620 objected to this approval and requested that the project be referred to ARC. We gathered the main objection was that the shed is inconsistent with the design of the main house and that it compromises his privacy expectations. That's what they understood the objections to be. Although it was our understanding that under our permit application, the shed would meet all city requirements, as a gesture of good faith and in an attempt to resolve the situation amicably, we agreed to change the color of the shed to match that of the house so that it would blend in with the adjoining structure. Our neighbor's driveway, which borders our property and the proposed shed, is approximately 2 feet above the ground level of our property, meaning that anyone walking in the driveway has a direct view over our property, including into our windows and backyard. Furthermore, headlights parking at night shine through the windows in our house. In order to maintain a reasonable level of privacy and security, we have planted fast-growing vegetation along our property line. This, incidentally, will also mean that within less than a year, the shed will no longer be visible from the neighbor's property, which should alleviate any concerns they may have of privacy expectations or design. As we have outlined in this letter, we have invested a lot of time and money in ensuring that this shed meets all local building requirements. We have attempted to meet the owner of 620 Scott Street halfway by agreeing to make some changes to the design of the shed and have met all the requirements for approval by the planning department. We have already had to deal with numerous delays since we started the renovation of our house in April 2021. These permitting issues are holding back the final inspection for the work on the house, which was completed at the end of 2021. And this is just a personal note, has been particularly challenging for them while taking care of their newborn daughter. We are hoping that this issue can be finalized rapidly so that we can finalize all construction work to a close. And then they just have a bullet point list of the things noted in the letter.
Thank you. Do any of the committee members have questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on?
Sure.
Okay, state your name, please.
Henry Runke, Wald Runke and Dost Architects. And I represent the apartment owners that are at 620 Scott Street, which is the neighbor that this lady was talking about, that has a driveway that views directly toward the shed. There's an image right here. Is there a way that we can get that put on the overhead, please? So we have no complaint about the other aspects of the project. There's some decking and some trellis and those types of things. That's not an issue. That's perfectly fine. I think the only thing that we have a concern about is the shed itself. And I think what we were looking at is when you separate it and you get your 10 feet between an accessory structure and a main home, that 10 feet defines the main home from the accessory structure. When you take the accessory structure and you attach it to the house, it's part of the main house. And we feel that once you make that attachment, you've created an addition. It's not a separate structure. If somebody wanted to come in the future, for example, and do what was suggested, let's say somebody decided, well, we're going to convert that into a bathroom because it's attached to the house. It's already been permitted. Then, you start to ask yourself, well, gee, was this the right thing to do? And what we look at is that if we were to come to you, if I were an architect coming to you and I said, I want to put an addition onto the side of the house that comes out 5 or 6 feet and is maybe about 12 feet long, and I want it so that the slope of the roof is different than the main house, that it's got a plastic roof and a ridge line with some shingles on it, and horizontal siding when the house is stucco, and it really has no relationship to the existing structure, I would expect the Architectural Review Committee would tell me that, hey, this doesn't meet the design guidelines of the city of Monterey. And that's, I think, where I disagree with the city staff, that because we're having technical difficulties here. If you want, I can also pass out. Oh, let's see, here it goes.
Thank you, Malik.
Thank you. So here is an image of the storage shed looking from the property at 620 Scott Street. And just making the point, if this is an addition onto the home, which is part of the home, it's not an accessory structure any longer. Then, as an Architectural Review Committee member, if this were brought before you and not after the fact, like the situation that we have where somebody had built it and then it winds up coming before the ARC. But if it had come to you originally as part of the design package, is this something that you would approve? And I would argue, no, this isn't something that you would approve. You would want something that would tie into the architecture of the home. You would want it to have the same roof slope or similar roof slopes. You'd want the roofing material to be something similar. There would be a lot of things that you'd want to do to make it look like it's not an addition. Not only does this not look like an addition, it looks like somebody attached a shed to a home. It also brings up the question as to whether, if this is an addition, is there a building permit required for a structure like this, since it's part of the home? What happens if this catches on fire? If the home were sprinklered, was this area sprinklered? Those types of things. So it starts to drive a lot of things. Now, if it were a separate structure, an accessory structure 10 feet away, that's one of the purposes of the 10 feet, is you start to separate the design, you start to separate the quality of the structure, you start to separate the permitting requirements and the fireproofing and all of those other things that you would have to consider if you were doing an addition. So what we're saying is that we have no issues with the neighbor as far as the other things. We have no problems with adding more square footage to the house, even in this location. Where I think we have a concern is this is not to the level of quality that would be expected for an addition on a home. And the applicant did this, they did it without a permit, they got caught, and we're sorry that they did it, but I don't think that this property owner should have to look at a structure like this because it's being approved after the fact. I think it needs to be designed to integrate with the house. I think the location could be okay. But I think that it does not conform in any way, shape, or form with the single family design guidelines. And we would request that the ARC either deny the shed or request that the applicant come back with some design changes to make this shed an actual addition and more integrated with the architecture of the home. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members have any questions for?
I can't really tell, but is it the roof of the shed like plastic so that a light can get into it, or it's not?
Yeah, it's plastic, clear plastic. And then the ridge has a heavy shake material on the
And
top.
do we know, is this a homemade shed or was it like a Home Depot shed? Home Depot, okay. So it's like a prefab shed, got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a couple questions. My first one is, have there been any residents that live in that apartment building that have complained about this?
I don't know. The property owner has complained.
Okay, so does the property owner live there?
No, the property owner does not live there. You have
Okay.
family that lives there?
Oh, are you the property owner?
Yeah, the property owner is.
Okay. So have there been any residents that have complained about looking at the shed?
Not that I know of. We have a property manager.
Okay. Secondly, what's your hope are you concerned that they're going to turn this into an ADU? Are you concerned it's going to become a bathroom and someone's going to be living in there? I'm trying to understand the
Honestly,
larger
my concern
picture.
is that I went up there and I was shocked because I haven't been up there for a while. When I found out about all this,
Uh-huh.
I drove up in our property and there's a fence being built. There's this thing, and it was just a cluster. They made a beautiful ABU unit. Wouldn't you want your tenants to walk through a nice driveway instead of going through this thing? I've lived in this neighborhood my whole life. I'm born and raised here. I'm
Mhm.
61 years old. I'm born up in Civic, right here.
Mhm.
I've never seen anything like this in our neighborhood in my whole lifetime. They said it matches the Monterey guidelines in this. I've never seen nothing like that in our neighborhood. And I've been here my whole life. We're owners, we're business owners. I don't know.
Have you tried to resolve this with them?
No. They just says they doing everything legal. I talked to one of the gentlemen that maybe the owner 6 months ago. And I just told him, I'm not good with this. I don't like it. I don't like the fence and I don't like that. It just doesn't look right for my property. It was eye-catching.
Just for the record, can you state your name? Just
Sam Mercurio.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? All right.
Leave that up. Sorry.
Can I ask a clarifying question? An additional, is that?
Yes, go ahead.
When the letter was read, it was mentioned that an architect was hired and drawings were provided, but are those in our packet? I don't know that I remember seeing those.
Exhibit A is the architectural plans drawn by the architect.
Thank you.
Also, just for other public comments, if there's any other members of the public that have comments on this item on the public agenda.
I'll remind the
Erica,
public how to
remind everyone
join.
how to do that. Thank you.
Sure. To join the meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864, then enter the webinar ID. Today's webinar ID is 161-914-9563. To provide public comment via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen. To provide comments by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. Public commenters will be announced using their last 3 phone number digits or the name they've typed into Zoom. There's one attendee online, their hand is not raised.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and close public comments at this time and open up for committee member comments.
I've got a number of comments. Another question for Fernanda. If this was an addition, an architect foundation addition tied into the original house, would the setback be 5 feet?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I'm just not okay with the fact that somebody can just put up a Home Depot shed and screw it to their house and say, now I have. It just, to me, it looks like it's just kind of a not well thought out add-on. And the fact that it's up against the house is just so that they can meet that 5-foot setback. And I would, they say that there's nowhere else on the property that it would fit. And yet they're building these arbors in the back and decks. And it looks like, there's possibly that there could be room back there for, a shed to house bikes and, gardening equipment and stuff like that. But I'd have to agree with the owner from 620 and Mr. Runke that it looks like kind of a slipshod addition and, different roofing material. It's just not well thought out. It looks like just a temporary building. And I just think, having, even just for the fire hazard sake of, what if flammable liquids are stored in it for lawnmowers or whatever, and it's right up against the house. And so I have a lot of concerns about this personally.
I agree with Patrick. It does appear that there could be another location for the shed over there, more towards the right, I think is the area where Patrick was talking about. They would meet the setbacks and it wouldn't be attached to the house at the same time. So I agree with Patrick's comments.
I'll add to that. I also agree. I think some of the aesthetic improvements could help dramatically if it did have a similar roof pitch, some similar material. Even though I don't think it would matter whether or not it had some skylight aspect to it. I in some ways just have more concerns about leaf litter, vermin, different things living in spaces that aren't meant to be connected. And if there's gaps and openings in them, that sort of health concern and safety seems to be a significant possibility of a problem for this.
Thank you. What else? Fernando, I have a question on that. It kind of brought up what the architect said there. When you attach something like a storage shed to a house, is there a delineation or differentiation according to the building requirements that cannot be altered into a habitable space for accessible from the house? Is it based on if there's a part of the foundation? How do you make the distinction in assessing? Is this just an accessory storage facility, or is it something that's an addition to the house that needs to be considered in the overall concept of what we would normally review at this committee?
So the building department does not review sheds that are less than 120 square feet and less than, I believe, 12 feet in height. Because it's not an occupied structure. It's just part of the building code that it does not require a building permit. In terms of, so we have a section in the zoning ordinance that talks about accessory structures, and sheds are considered accessory structures. They're not meant to be habitable at all. And so that's why accessory structures have these different setbacks. If they're attached, they can be attached to the main house, like some laundry facilities are attached, but do not have access to the main house. Like in the past, that's sometimes how it was done. But this is not meant to be habitable. So it has a lower threshold of requirements than if it was an addition to a habitable addition to the main house.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just, if this was, I realize it would cost, multiple times more if this were an addition, like if it was, they wanted to add 100 square feet to that side of the house and tie it into the roof and bump out the wall 3 or 4 feet or 5 feet or whatever it is. We would probably okay that, but But just like anybody can go to Home Depot for, a couple $100 and nail a shed to their house and say, okay, now it's part of the house. I just really don't like to see that kind of thing happen in our neighborhoods. I just don't think it's it's attractive, and it doesn't look professional. It looks like it's just added on and like a lean-to kind of feel to me. So yeah, that's all I had to say about it.
Fernanda, can you go back to what your requirements for approval were, the findings?
Sure. So the findings,
I'm sorry, I don't have my whole packet with me.
so the first finding is that the siding form, mass, and architectural style are appropriate for the site, immediate area, and city. Do you want me to just go through all of them?
Yeah.
The second is that the project will not unreasonably impair the views, privacy, or living environment currently enjoyed by other properties in the vicinity. The third is that the project is substantially consistent with the general plan and all applicable and adopted area or neighborhood plans, design guidelines, or similar documents. And the fourth one is that the proposed finish, colors, materials, and all other exterior features are appropriate for the project site, immediate area, and city.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Any other comments from committee members?
I'll just add, I'm looking at these drawings and yes, they're plans, but there's no detailing showing how this roof or walls would be attached. And that's really my greatest concern for this owner, for future owners. If you have these things that are just in close proximity, you're going to get mold, you're going to get other issues coming through the minor gaps that I'm not seeing on these plans, that there's any plan to effectively close the gaps. It sounds a bit more like what Patrick is saying, just kind of attach it, who knows how, with screws, I'm not sure. So I just repeat those kind of safety concerns, and then echo some of my colleagues with regards to it not feeling like it does fit the really requirements of what should be an attached structure to the architecture.
Yeah, I agree. Again, that if this were an addition, there would be flashing from the roof or a cricket to keep water from getting from the shed roof in between the two walls. That's going to create mold, mildew, dry rot, and it looks like it's not a good idea in my opinion.
Any others? Any comments?
I would just say that since it's being attached to the house, I don't see it meeting any of those findings. So that's an issue for sure.
Okay. Any other questions? If no other comments from the committee, I'll call for a motion.
I'll try to come up with, so we're
Quick clarification on the motion. Are we going to motion for, this is for the entire piece? There's no ability to accept other portions?
I was just going to ask that for Amanda, if we were to take and separate the arbors from the, or separate out the accessory storage shed from the rest, can we deal with them separately, or is that something we need to deal with in its entirety?
Yes, you can deal with it separately. So you have discretion on which structures to approve, deny, or continue for redesign. And if you have changes to the findings, please add them to the motion.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I'll call for a motion.
I'll go ahead and take it a swing at it. Approve 610 Scott Street Architectural Review Application ARP 22-0001 for preliminary and final architectural review of a detached arbor with deck below, attached arbor to main residence with deck below. And that's it. We are not going to approve the attached storage shed to the main residence.
So that'll be a separate motion, right, Fernanda?
No, the motion that he said excluding the shed can be all in the same motion.
Okay. I'll second that.
All right, the motion has been made by Patrick to approve the 610 Scott Street Architectural Review Application ARP -22-0001 for preliminary final architectural review of the detached arbor with deck below and attached arbor to main residence with deck below, and to deny the approval on the attached storage shed to the main residence.
Can I just ask so if we don't approve the storage shed, what's the process for the property owners now?
So if you deny the storage shed, they can either appeal the decision to the
Yeah.
planning commission. They can reapply under a new permit for another version of the shed.
At which point they would have to pay the fees?
Yes.
Okay.
I think those are the two. Or they could do nothing and just demolish or
Demolish
remove
it.
the shed.
All right, are there any other comments or discussion of the motion that has been put forward and seconded? All right, Erica, will you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Vice Chair Hunter,
Aye.
Committee Member Carter.
Aye.
Committee Member Ostavar.
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt
Aye.
and Committee Member Tregenza.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries with a vote of 5. The decision is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 days. We have applications online or in our planning office.
Thank you. All right, that is the end of the public agenda items. Are there any informal staff reports that you have, Fernanda?
So Chris Schmidt, our senior associate planner, mentioned at a previous meeting that we were amending our accessory dwelling unit ordinance, and that was approved by our city council on May 3rd. So that approval changed some of the requirements for ADUs in that you can apply for a second story ADU above a garage if it's located in the R3 district. And R3 is, some of Old Town has R3 as well as New Monterey.
Okay.
And also in Villa Del Monte and Laguna Grande neighborhoods.
Got it.
If you're applying for that type of ADU, it needs to come before the ARC. So that's all. Any other type of ADU can just receive a building permit, except for second story ADUs. So those will come before you.
I'm
And
sorry, what's the height maximum on those second story ADUs?
25 feet.
Okay.
And then also on May 3rd, there was a first reading of an ordinance to principally permit bicycle rentals in the open space zoning district and in the lighthouse and downtown specific plan areas.
Say that one more time.
Oh, so there was a first reading of an ordinance to allow bicycle rentals. So businesses that rent bikes and related equipment to be principally permitted in the open space zoning district and lighthouse and downtown specific plan areas.
Where's the open space? Where's that specific?
So we have multiple open space zone properties. One of the big ones is the Dennis the Menace Park, and the youth center there and the cemetery and the north part of that, which is where you can rent the ducks that go in the lake.
Yeah.
Um,
The swans.
yeah, the swans. There's other parks that are zoned open space. Yeah, it's generally parks.
But they could be written all over the city.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the tentative agenda for next ARC, only the top two made it into the, are gonna make it into the agenda. 457 Wave Street is under construction. It's the two buildings and a total of four condominiums. They want to add floor area to the third story and make some other changes, like exterior changes. 700 Lobos is also a referral to the ARC. It was eligible for administrative review, but the neighbor referred it to ARC because of concerns.
Okay, thank you. Or
Yeah.
first Wednesday in June. So, okay.
June 8th, yeah?
June 1st.
First, okay.
June
Yeah.
1st. Yep. Okay. All right. Nothing else. Thank you very much. I'll adjourn the meeting of ARC for May 18th at 4:47 p.m.